We'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Ron, you wanna
Sure. Rich Gussenberg,
hear?
Sean Kimball. Here. Sarah Stevens-Morley.
Here.
Jeff Sullivan. Greg Rosenblatt.
Here.
Chris Daddy.
Here.
Megan Rockwell. Dennis Ryu.
Here.
Chuck Neff.
Here. All right, pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have
I think that's all. No, it's not.
no one here for comments. Did we have any correspondence?
Nobody wrote me.
Okay, feeling bad about that?
Still.
Approval of meeting minutes, November 7th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to accept the minutes.
A second? Sure. Do we have a second?
Yeah, Dennis.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dennis. Any discussion?
I will abstain.
Yeah. Chuck?
It says we discussed the cancellation of the meeting on December 5th. We canceled the meeting on December 5th. It should be clarified.
Well, I didn't know that if it was definitive, which is why I put it on the agenda tonight to verify that. I know we had a conversation about it, but, I mean,
Fairly
those,
certain, I don't know what anybody else remembers, but we canceled the meeting.
I thought I got a calendar thing that said it was canceled too.
yeah,
Yeah, I crossed it off, I think, yeah.
well,
I wasn't here, so I
that'll
can't
take
speak
one
to
of
it.
the items off of my,
Yeah, I'll
off of
agree.
my
Yep.
agenda here, because that was something I just wanted to verify tonight.
Yeah.
So is that,
That's how I remember.
That's how I remember it too.
okay, then let's
Alright.
make that change then. Any other discussion? All right, then all those in favor of the minutes as amended? And opposed? And abstained?
I can't vote for abstain because I'm abstaining.
Okay, there we go. Okay, town council report was very, very short. There were a number of things going on at the town council at the last meeting, and so by the time they got to me, it was a very quick discussion of what was going on. Phase 1, phase 2 were out to bid, and it was probably, 7 or 8 minutes, and I was in and out.
Probably for the better.
By that point, the board just wanted to keep moving. Decision to cancel, we've already dealt with that. December 19th, meeting time and the bid approval process. Meeting time, I had sent out a note to verify that who could be there to make sure that we were gonna have a quorum. We do have a quorum. I hadn't heard back from Chris. I don't know if you know if you're gonna be there at the meeting or not.
I only got my emails yesterday. I was wondering why it was so quiet, and the account was dead and had to be relogged in, 2-factor and all that kind of stuff. I was like, what is this? This is great. Wow. I check it every day, and then I went to send you something to confirm for tonight, and it was just hung up in the outbox, and that's when I said something's going on.
Something was
So
wrong.
I haven't had a chance to look at anything, so I will let you know. But if you already have a quorum,
We have a quorum. The only question, Jeff Solon cannot make the meeting at 7. He could make the meeting earlier. He has a board meeting that night. So we do have a quorum at 7, but I wanted to check with the committee to see whether you wanted, if you really wanted Jeff to be there, then, you could do the meeting earlier or just continue it at 7.
what's
So
the date?
the 19th, December 19th. It's an important meeting in that, Laura will be bringing in the bid packages to
I
approve that
can't
night.
do earlier.
What's that?
I cannot do earlier.
Cannot do earlier, okay. So we want to keep it at 7?
Yeah.
It's probably best,
All
yeah.
right. Jeff will have to just deal with it from there.
So are we gonna be reviewing the bid packages?
Or they're coming in and approving.
It's
Yeah.
just gonna be
All three of them,
3 and 3, so site concrete and steel for each of the 2 jobs. Unless we're ready with North End for more. But the idea is just to at least get the site concrete and steel guys going.
Now, I did talk with our attorney, and he wanted to make sure that people were aware that if there were any concerns or questions, that he should be made aware of that ahead of time and review it, because obviously there potentially is a legal questions if we did not automatically go with the lowest bidder. We have to show that they are not qualified or whatever, so.
Silly question, but what is the committee's role in this? Like, I thought we have our ONG on board, and they're hiring these bidders. I thought it was up to them, no? Or it's up to them only with our approval? Is that the way it works?
That's my
Yeah,
understanding.
we'll make a recommendation, and then it'll be up to the committee to approve those.
And then we'll
Those
enter a
recommendations.
contract with them.
Do we got an executive session?
Well, here's the issue. I'll read you Jeff D'Onofrio's. I wrote to him about the idea of doing an executive session to discuss any concerns that people had. He came back saying there's no statutory basis to hold an executive session to discuss bidder qualifications. The standard is lowest responsible qualified bidder. If a low bidder is going to be rejected because they are deemed either not responsible or not qualified, information should be provided to me so I can evaluate and provide an opinion. If ultimately the committee votes to award to a bidder other than the low bidder, the meeting minutes must contain an adequate discussion of the reasons for not awarding to the low bidder so as to protect the town from litigation by the unsuccessful low bidder and to satisfy the state of Connecticut during the audit.
So wouldn't we, if we're supposed to vote on this, we're supposed to vote on these bids on the 19th, right? So if we have any questions about it, it's a little late in the game to get it to Jeff. So do we need to get Jeff that information immediately so he can review the qualifications and to make sure that,
Well, I think from my understanding is that, Laurel would have to say, based on what I'm looking at, here are the three low bidders that, or the low bidder for each of the three packages.
And we'll know the low bidders in advance. I mean, one, we can watch the bids opening on the 26th, or you'll send it to us like, here are the 6 where we want you guys to approve. So we'll know that in advance
Yeah,
before the meeting.
And if a committee member looks and says, I've got a real concern or a question here, then that needs to be sent to our attorney if we're not going to award to the low bidder. It wouldn't matter if it's, if you've got 6 bids and it's the highest bidder and you have a concern with that, it's not a big deal. But if it's the low bidder and someone around this table has a concern about that, then that needs to be communicated to our attorney before you approve on the 19th. That's my understanding.
is he at all in the, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I would think that if we're gonna see the bids, right? I don't think anybody's gonna look at the number and be like, oh, I don't know about that bidder. I think it comes out of like Laurel's scope review, right? When you're going through them, if she says the low bidder wasn't qualified, that's what's gonna raise the alarm, and that's where we gotta get Jeff. It's not necessarily coming from us, it'd be us having to approve somebody that Laurel's recommending that wasn't the low bidder.
So what may happen is when there's a low bidder and they're really low, and there's an issue with them, they tend to withdraw. So they withdraw their bid from consideration, so that should nullify any sort of protest. And then we would go to the second. We rarely disqualify bidders. Usually they don't have the scope complete, they end up withdrawing if they're low. There are times when we've had low bidders that are very low, like electricians, 30% low. They took the job and they were fine. So we can't determine that until we actually talk to them.
Yeah.
You'll see the numbers, you'll see the raw data with how many we had, how low they are, but don't get hung up. There's always gonna be one that's way down here, and there's always gonna be somebody up in the sky, and you don't really compare the low to the high.
Right. So I think for the most part, it's coming from you.
Yes.
But I know that there were people around the table who have had experience working with various companies, may very well look at the low bidder that you're gonna recommend and say, I've got a concern or a problem there. And in the end, you're putting a recommendation on the table, and the committee is voting to approve or not approve your recommendation.
Well, if it's okay with you, if somebody does have a concern based on the raw bid results, and they just wanna call me and talk to me on the phone, so that I can, discuss those types of concerns with the low bidder while we're meeting with them, you know, in generalities, just to
Right.
make sure that those type of concerns would be abetted. I don't have an issue with somebody talking on the phone,
Right.
unless you.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the only issue would be if for some reason we chose not to go with the low bidder. We want to make sure that the attorney gets
Right,
brought into that
right.
process early before the committee
Right.
is in the position of voting.
Right.
And by the time you're presenting to us, you've already had your leveling meetings and vetted everybody out so that everybody's supposedly pricing apples to apples, right?
They bid plans and specs, this is public bid opening, they don't get to add, they don't get to subtract. Whatever their public number is, they have to honor that number. And so what the leveling aspect of it is making sure you got this, you know, tell me what you got, to make sure that they're carrying the scope. And if in the end, they found out that they missed some things, they have to still take the contract for that amount, or they walk away.
Or withdraw it, yeah.
Right.
They can't change their number.
But what I'm saying though, when you come to us with your recommendation, you've already had
We've
those
done that
meetings
vetting.
with them.
Right.
So if somebody was 4 million low because they forgot the B-wing, they can withdraw.
Right.
Rather than have us go through some legal battles
Yes,
and worry about
and
getting
that's
crap.
normally what happens if you have a low person and.
So I'm anticipating
they
that by the
withdraw.
19th, you will come in, you'll present a package. The committee will say, you know, you've done your due diligence and we're all set to go. But I just want to make sure that it's clear to the committee, the process that we're following to make sure that we don't get to the 19th and then have issues or questions raised for the first time.
Yeah, maybe you wanna just flag an email when you send it out, just say, this is the one you need to look at with the bidder, so that we can, anybody of interest can take a look.
I'll give you a warning if there's an issue. When we send out the bid results, we'll say, hey, this is a person that's low. Like another risk would be if it's somebody that we're unfamiliar with and they're really low.
Yeah.
Most of the times they don't understand the way that we write our scopes. So I will give you the warning that, hey, don't get all excited with
Yeah.
this low guy.
And there could be a time that one of us has dealt with a sub in a not positive way, but generally that company does fine. But for some reason on a job, things didn't work well. Could have been, you know, the supervisor that was there or whatever, but who knows?
Is that an okay reason for us to?
How about 2 jobs?
What's that?
How about if it happens with 2 jobs?
I think, you know, again, that's the sort of thing you want to make sure you're sharing with Laurel.
Right, for the specific issues.
Yeah.
Just put your phone number down at the bottom of that email.
Yeah, because if we do get someone like that, we want to know that up front. But as the attorney also noted, if for some reason we choose not to give it to the low bidder and they haven't withdrawn, we have to be very specific about what the reasons are, and they're specific, are there, you know, reasons that the attorney has reviewed ahead of time, so that, you know, we are not in a legal peril situation. We're clear with that? Okay, good. So we will continue with the meeting at 7 o'clock, and we know the process that we're going through there. Meeting schedule approval, I had sent that out to you. I think I have a copy here.
See, I have one here if you want.
Yeah, I have it on my computer, but I don't. I did forward it to everyone with the agenda. Excuse me one second, here we go. So it's the same as it was this year, basically, with the second and fourth Thursday of every month. We moved the January meetings because, you know, Laurel said she really wanted a meeting on the 16th, so that got pushed a week. So it was the 16th and the 30th instead of whatever the second and fourth was. There was also discussion last time about particularly when we hit the November, December times with Thanksgiving and Christmas. We shifted those dates so that it became the first and third instead of the second and fourth. I put an alternative on there would be to just have a single meeting, which Jeff Solon said that he liked because otherwise he bumps into his Board of Ed meetings. But instead of meeting on both the 6th and 20th of November, it would be one meeting on the 13th, and instead of meeting on the 4th and 18th, it would be one meeting on the 11th. So what is the preference of the group?
I'm okay with the one meeting, and then if we run into that there's issues coming up, we can talk about having a special meeting. That would be my thought.
Yeah,
That makes sense to me.
around the table?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
My question would be, if we can do that in November and December, why can't we do that all year? I mean, it's a special, we've had meetings that have lasted 45 minutes, and the attendance at meetings has been like 5 out of 7 for most of them, for the members. So why do we need 2 meetings every month if we're in construction? We're approving invoices and we're approving change orders, but we have a process for both of those already.
Well, let me ask the construction people, what's your experience? I mean, we've been very busy. This is, we're coming up to our 2nd year as a committee. And we've had a lot that's gone on as we've gone through design and hiring different personnel and everything else. We clearly are shifting. The last couple of months have been, much less as we're now just waiting for approvals and getting out to bid. Once construction starts, what is your experience? Do you need more, do you need to continue to have 2 meetings for approvals and things, or is one a month okay?
We've had both, right? We've had bi-monthly meetings and then we've had single meetings per month. As long as, because we have 2 projects here, that one meeting would be a little bit longer, because we'll be presenting 2 bills, 2 monthly reports, having discussions on 2 separate projects. But I don't think we would separate one project, one meeting and then the next project the next. So I think it's gonna be one longer meeting is probably all we need.
I think from our,
Yeah, to your point, we have a subcommittee that, or subgroup that's gonna be looking at change orders. So if there is any work that has to be accelerated, or the approval process to be accelerated, it's already been addressed.
Well, the only thing is that change order process presently still requires coming to the committee. So it may be something that we have to look at if we're only gonna have one monthly meeting. You could have to wait 4 weeks to get that approval if something came up right after one of our meetings. Presently, we said, okay, at the most it would be 2 weeks and then you'd be coming in. If we wanted to set up a new process where we do allow, a subgroup, I don't want to call it a subcommittee because that was always an issue, a subgroup to, approve change orders before we come. But that would be one concern that I would have in meeting once a month.
I think generally for us, I mean, we can do either or. As far as the change order processes, being that these are new buildings for the, except for the demo and abatement part of Norton, I wouldn't anticipate emergency PCOs very often, which would require us to be able to turn it around in 2 weeks to get us authorization for work. And if we did run into that situation, obviously we would notify yourself and if necessary, maybe there was a possibility, I don't know your procedures 100%, but if there's a possibility to call like an emergency meeting, for a week later or something along those effects. But we will, whichever way the committee would like to go, we will, obviously work with you on that, so.
We can do special meetings. It's more difficult because people don't book them in.
Sure.
And, they're a little more limited than our regular meetings. But we can set up special meetings if need be. We did that back in the days when we were, hiring architects and builders and others.
just on that point, we could, something the town council does is we have one monthly meeting, technically the second Tuesday, but we always hold the fourth Tuesday. So people try to keep it available on their schedules, but then so sort of what, kind of to what Chuck is saying, I tend to agree that it would seem we could have one dedicated regular one that you know we're having, but then 2 weeks later, we kind of all try to keep the night open in the event we have something like that.
So it's like a tentative meeting, the second one is a tentative.
Sorry, in here.
So the second one is like a tentative meeting.
Yeah, yeah. It would just be on there as a separate thing.
My only concern with that is I would say for 2025, I would have no reservations, but I would say we revisit this come for 2026, because as we near the end of the project, there might be decisions to be made as to whether we have money for a new playscape or not, and do we want to do a different awning, or hey, now's the time to change this or that, and we might want to start discussing things where monies are going and not wait a month.
Well, we have to redo this every year.
Yeah, well, I'm just
by
saying,
state
that
statute, we
I
have
think
to.
as we get near the end of the project, I think we're gonna wanna meet more.
First, playscapes are going to be bid during this phase, but to your point,
Item X.
to your point, we are likely going to be going through an FF&E and technology selection that is going to need to resemble the approval process that we just went through. So while I agree that, you know, maybe the schedule is the first Thursday is a regular meeting, the second Thursday meeting date is a special meeting that you have the dexterity to cancel if you need to, but towards the end of 2025, we're probably going to need some of those, you know, maybe October or September, we're gonna probably need an independent meeting to present FF&E technology to prepare for that.
So my only suggestion is if we are gonna go to one meeting a month, that we make the regular meeting the second meeting of that, the later in the month. And the reason I'm thinking that is because if I'm doing billing and I open the draw on the 20th, and we're meeting on the second week of the following month, I may not be able to get all the signatures and get all the, you know, revisions. You know, say, you know, I do some significant revisions to the requisition, and then the design team also adds those in. I now have to send that back to all the subcontractors, have them to, you know, make and agree to those revisions, and we may have some back and forth on, you know, how much to negotiate what is actually allowed to be billed on a certain line item. And if we were trying to get that, all the signatures and get that submitted to you in time for review, the second Thursday of the month is typically a little quick for me to be able to turn that around. I typically spend a week in the sub's hands and then a week for the design team review. Now we're already into the first week before I've got any responses back from the design team. And if I need to turn it around in a couple of days, I might not be able to get it to you for the following Tuesday before that Thursday meeting. So my suggestion would be to make the regular meeting the third or fourth Thursday of the month.
Well, we could do that easily, except for the January one where we still have to meet on the
Yes.
16th.
Yeah.
And then we would meet at on the 30th. And then you go to just the 27th of February, the 27th of March, April 24th, you know, that schedule. And let's see.
No, it's not jiving with my GMP stuff. but-
Yeah, when are you gonna be done buying out the project?
The GMPs, I was gonna be towards the end of January, so I'm doing them separately. And I was gonna have your GMP for North End ready for the middle of February and for North End like a week later, so they weren't necessarily on the same schedule.
Then we need to have the second meeting in that month.
Maybe start in March with the once a meeting. I mean, construction-wise, we're gonna just get going in January and February. There won't be a ton of activity, you know, as far as, you know, for bills and things like that, so.
Yeah. Well, I personally like having the 2 meetings a month, even if they are short and sweet and they're 45 minutes and you're in and out. But whatever the committee chooses to do, so let me get a sense of the committee, how many would prefer to stick to a twice a month except for November and December. How many would prefer that? That's me.
I like the 2 a month.
Yeah, so do I.
That's 3. And how many would prefer to go to a once-a-month meeting?
What would the second date, right?
Yeah, once a month. So in other words, one's a meeting and one's a special meeting, so that you have the flexibility to cancel whatever the procedural requirement is for your agenda filing, all that sort of stuff. So that you can
Well, we'd be
cancel it.
scheduling 1 month a meeting, 1 meeting a month, And then the second one would just be there for the state purposes of, we could meet on these dates.
I can see
similar
myself
to what
coming on the wrong Thursday.
There is that risk.
I think, I don't feel strongly either way, except that with the monthly, I would just wanna have that second date reserved. But I feel with that in place, either works for me.
My feeling is that things have gone very well with this group, and we've moved things along. And we haven't had any issues, other than, we had one or two times where we had difficulty getting a quorum, but I don't think it's been a big problem. But
Just zoom
again,
in.
I am willing to go with whatever the committee prefers.
And I'm kind of agreeing with the statement that I mean, one meeting a year would be great, for time-wise and my own personal schedule, but if we need to be here more, we need to be here more. There have been some meetings, like Chuck said, a half hour, 45 minutes. I'm actually like, I walk out of here with a big smile on my face then, so I'm not, I'm less upset, but I've got a 2-minute drive and that's fine. I don't know, I just want to make sure that we are not, there's going to come a point where a lot of things are happening that I think our input is going to be important. And just as long as we agree to meet twice a month if we need to when things are happening, I'm fine with once a month, but not to sacrifice our input where it's necessary in a project, if that makes sense. I mean, am I misspeaking? I mean, you guys have been to a ton more of these. There's gonna come a point, like I was trying to say before, where there's gonna be a lot of decisions to be made, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
I think you keep one with the option to have the second one, because things will come up, and then run it that way. That would be, most of the projects when they go into construction, once the GMP is signed, it's once a month. I mean, typically.
And I mean, I don't wanna be here till midnight because we're only meeting once a month either, that's the other thing, I don't want it, but, if everybody thinks that's reasonable, there's no need to be,
My only
I'm on board with it.
my concern with the option is, if it's getting, like the previous meeting, say, nothing's going on, I'm liable to reschedule something else. It's hard to keep it open, not knowing if you're coming or not. Where if it's a firm date, then I know I just don't schedule anything.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it could be last minute, if it's just there as hold the second Thursday of the month, and then, 3-4 days ahead of time, people say, whoops, we have some things coming up. It would be a quick email out to people saying, we're meeting, here's an agenda.
So is that what the council does, is they hold it as an actual meeting, they don't send out a special meeting thing?
No, the fourth Tuesday would be a special meeting, but, I mean, you can do either, and to be clear, you can file all of these as regular meetings, and maybe it's just a practice that because you can always cancel a regular meeting too, you don't have to hold a regular meeting, so you could cancel the first one of each month in practice, and they're all filed, and you don't have a problem with, filing late agendas or anything like that, but, I mean, either way.
I'd be cool with that, and then if maybe our design and construction professionals just touch base with you, let you know if there's a lot to talk about or not, and then you can just cancel it. I mean, I'm okay with getting a cancellation notice,
I would agree. I think that's a better approach.
because then I've got it locked in, I know I'm not scheduling anything, it's all set, but, oh, hey, got canceled. Bye-bye. I mean, that's just,
Yeah, I don't mind doing that. I would probably send a note out to the construction and design people and just say, maybe a week or so ahead, do we need to go ahead with this meeting? And I would probably make that the first meeting of each month. And if they say nothing important, then we just cancel those meetings.
Usually when we get into construction administration, our reports are monthly. We'll give a synopsis of the RFIs, the submittals that we've reviewed, any bulletins that we've issued during the month. It would be rare that we would need to provide an interim report, but and similarly,
Same with us.
you guys do monthly reports as well.
Yes, it would be a monthly report. We will present that in the second meeting, the fourth week of the month. If we, as the suggested, the schedule both meetings, and then if they're not, the first one's not needed, what I would see that being more from us would be maybe if we had some PCOs that came up and we wanted to present them at the second meeting instead of waiting for the fourth Thursday of the month, we would present them at the second Thursday of the month. But the monthly report, the requisitions, all of that, our bills would be, they'd be intending to present on the fourth Thursday of the month.
All right, so do we have a consensus around the room then that we would schedule 2 meetings a month with the fourth locked in, the second Thursday of each month would be one where we would be checking, I would be checking, and if there's nothing important that would be coming up at that meeting, we would cancel.
Yeah, that's
That sounds good.
And then
Okay.
November and December, just one
And
meeting.
November and December, we'd stay with the one meeting.
Yeah.
Sound all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. I think we have to actually approve this, so
I'll make a motion for
you'll
that.
make that motion. Okay, a second?
Yeah, okay.
There. All those in favor? Okay.
Okay, I told you the 16th I'll be out in January, first
Okay.
one already.
I don't think that's allowed, but
Uh-oh.
Let's just cancel that.
That's it, yeah. Turning into optional.
there you go, all right. Okay. Groundbreaking. We had a little group of us got together, myself, Jeff Solon, Vince, Arnett, a couple of people from the school system, to go over plans for the, and Ryan. He took a major role in it, so I want to make sure we talk to him about it. So the plans for the groundbreaking at this point, it would be December 16th. It would start at the north end at noon. Jeff Solon was suggesting that if people, because there's parking issues, that people could come to the central office. They would have a bus that would go from central office to the north end. We would do the groundbreaking there. We would then take that bus to Norton and do the groundbreaking there. If people wanted to drive, they could. If there were some people that were just gonna go to one site or the other, that they could do that. It is a noontime thing, so I know some people, it's just not gonna work. But, you know, it's either that or you do it in the dark at this time of year. Ryan's gonna get shovels for us, some nice fancy shovels. We wanted to invite all the members of the committee, obviously, you know, anyone on the design team, the town council, the Board of Education. And then Jeff Solon sent me a note today, and he said, you know, we probably should also invite our local state representatives, since they're involved with giving us the money. But we obviously can't have that whole group with a shovel up there. So we were talking about everyone in that group with a hard hat, but a small number of people with the shovel. They were looking at Peter Talbot as representing the town council, Sam Rosenberg representing the Board of Ed, myself, Sean, and Jeff Solon, just doing the shovel bit. Let's see. Jeff will send out invitations to get an RSVP. And let's see. Oh, there was also, they were gonna send invitations out to anyone that was on the School Modernization Committee, figuring that sort of led into where we're at right now. He was also gonna put together a press release to send out. There would be 3 very short speeches, one by Peter, one by Sam, one by myself. Mine would basically just say, here's the people that have been working hard on this, you know, I want to thank everyone. But you know, it was meant to be, you know, fairly short and sweet. And Mike Salamani was on the thing, he was gonna provide some kind of amplification for speeches and things like that. But I wanted to bring it to this group and see if what we had put together sounded okay, if you had any suggestions, or had any concerns about, you know, what was there. None of this is locked in yet, it's all still open for discussion.
The last big project I did, all the groups that you mentioned took turns at the shovel. with picture taking, that way no one feels excluded. So that might be, it takes longer, because you have to corral everyone, it's like herding cats.
Just thinking.
But that way no one gets
No hurt feelings.
no hard feelings. Just a suggestion, I won't be there, so it doesn't matter.
You won't do that? How about around the committee, what people think they would be there?
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
Okay,
I'll be there if it snows and it's still.
so that's 4, Jeff Solomon will be there, 5, I don't know about Megan, but, okay. So let me. Other discussion? Yeah, Ryan.
So we had talked about the different hard hats, so I brought 3 different samples of what we can provide. We do not recommend these. These are pretty flimsy. They're gonna have a hard time holding on to the stickers. The nice thing about the ONG hard hat is that we can put the permanent sticker on it. They can take these home with them, and if they want to visit the site, they now have their own hard hat. So when they show up, they have it, they bring it with them. We can get vests as well, so that they are all set up with the proper PPE for that. So that would be our recommendation. We would provide those. We have plenty of those. I spoke with marketing. They said no problem.
And Jeff Solon had suggested putting a sticker on each side, one for North End School and one for.
So that's what we wanted to find out from you. We are going to put a mock-up together of the sticker. Originally, when we had discussed in the meeting, it was putting a sticker with both names on the sticker, but if you would want one for Norton, one for North End, and put it on each side, we could do that as well.
I don't really care. However you want to do it is fine
The
with me.
only thing with that is just if you're at the north end and you're taking a picture, you just gotta make, you don't wanna have people.
Face left, face right.
You can only shoot it from the right side.
So what we were gonna do is put a mock-up together and share that with the committee, and then we only need a couple of days, so as long as we could find out by early December, we could get those, the
Well, you're not gonna
sticker.
share with the committee because we don't have another meeting now. We just-
No, I would share it via email to you.
Okay.
You could send it out to your members and then get back to me and say, hey, we like this version, or we like them individual. As far as the shovels, we would do a similar sticker. Now, if we wanted to do a different, one for Norton and one for North End, instead of the combo of both schools on one sticker, my suggestion would be we would get 6 shovels for each site. And then those shovels will be turned over to the committee. You can share them with whoever you like, keep them in your office. I have more than I need at my house, so I don't need them back. We have plenty of those. So yeah, I will get that over to you as a mock-up, and you can decide which way you want to go with the stickers, and whether you want one set of shovels that have both names on it as one sticker, or a set of shovels for each school.
Okay. Do people have any preference?
I would do one for each school, because then you can give one to the principal.
You have to keep on display case at school or something.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So, and that's fine, and we can, so I can do that with a sticker for either, whichever school on either side of the helmet, or we could end up doing, on the helmets, just having both stickers. That's also, something. So I will send you a mock-up of both sets, and you make the final decision and get back to me. The only other thing we have is I did check out both sites, and we do not have any readily available dirt piles on the site that we could use. Richard said that they could get a triaxle down and drop, half at one side, half at the other side, and create that pile in the 2 areas. There would be a cost for that, because they have no equipment left on site. That's typically what we do, and we incorporate that into our cost as part of the construction, project. Seeing as that this is phase 1, we do have contingency money left. We could utilize some contingency money for that. If you wanted to do that. Again, I don't have the exact cost on that, but it's a driver and a truck and a little bit of dirt. So
I walked around the North End site when we were there for the pre-bid meeting. It is hard as a rock.
Right.
You're not sicking a shovel.
Aren't there machines on site? Right.
Brian,
You might.
Don't you have machines on site? Can you
We
just
don't.
scratch up a little bit of?
They've removed all the machinery. I did ask them that today, and they said all the
You
machinery
could
is
create
gone.
a, like
So-
A trough.
yeah, trough.
Who wants to
All
draw
the things that
something?
seem like a waste of
Well,
money
I
to
still,
That looks like Chuck E. Cheese.
Could you send
Mark
me
said
that?
we'll figure
Could
it
you
out,
send me
so-
that picture?
We're not actually trying to make people,
That's a dragon.
But even the thing in front.
That's a dragon,
So-
looks like a.
Don't
Mark
get
says
Yeah, bag of mulch at Depot.
we will work with
So I
Richard to get it
told-
resolved.
Okay.
All right.
Figure out something.
Yeah,
Plus
so
the
where
project.
the site was, at the north end, they're gonna do right next to you, if you know where the parking area is, just beyond the parking area. Cause it's difficult to even walk on that,
Yes.
it's very uneven. And then at the Norton site, it was gonna be somewhere within the area of the building.
Yeah, I think we had talked about putting it towards the back of the field, not into where we have done construction recently, but at the very back of that field, so that we're not impacting the students too much, although they're not gonna be using that very much
Not
at that
much
time.
after that, it's gonna get fenced
So,
in pretty soon after that.
We can definitely, I mean, anywhere on that back field, we can put that, so if, well, before we bring in the dirt, and we'll bring in the dirt maybe after Thanksgiving, the week after Thanksgiving or something, if you just wanna identify, I'll send you a sketch of that back area and just ask you to pinpoint whereabouts we would like it.
I would just go to an area where the footprint of the building's gonna be,
Okay,
the farthest back you can go.
sure, that's fine, we can definitely do that.
And hopefully we won't have a lot of snow or something before that, or deep freeze. Any other input on that?
Just a question, I view my job here as to be a penny pincher for the town, for the taxpayers, including myself. How much money are we gonna take, just a couple $100, or are we talking $10,000?
For,
The contingency to pay for this dirt that we gotta bring in, for
we'll
opulence
take
and
care of that.
taking a photograph.
We'll resolve that, it won't cost you anything, we'll get that worked out with Richards. So I spoke too soon, I should have asked.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just-
Keep asking those kind of questions, that's
I
fine.
mean, I hate to
Will
seem
come
like
out
I'm,
of the
No,
civil-
Chris, I like that, I appreciate that, cause I am the same way, I redline the heck out of
I mean,
requisitions.
if
and
that money could get us
PCOs.
a better doorknob on the front door, let's put it there, or whatever.
Any other input?
Or another
I would just
playscape.
just add one point that
Can't use
I
another
applied to
slide.
that. We do have
Another slide.
some spare, some leftover gold painted shovels, Town of Cheshire shovels that I'll probably be bringing as well for to Dennis's point. If there's a group photo of the council, for instance, there's 9 of them, 6 shovels. I'll make sure there's enough
So the
kind of spare
town
shovels. So
council
if they want to take their own photo, then nobody's left out because certainly with that group, I don't want to leave any out. For personal reasons.
Yeah, I don't want anyone getting upset over
That's
not
right.
having a shovel.
Exactly.
That's not,
Yeah, we're all in this together.
not on my agenda at this
Everybody
point.
wants a shovel until it's time to really dig some dirt.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand.
Justin, you okay with not giving a speech that day?
I've given a speech at every,
'Cause I saw you, you gave the speech at the pre-bid meeting.
yeah, and I got shut down
That
halfway
went
through
really
it,
well.
so, yeah. No, shut me down.
For those who don't know, what happened was Justin was very, very excited about the program. Laurel said, can you fill these possible bidders in? And he starts going on about, the themes of the school and the things that, and she said, okay, they don't really want to hear any of that, but thank you anyway.
So there's these caterpillars and.
That's exactly where he was going. That was it for,
That's good.
Sean's memorized it.
It's a great speech.
But if you've got that speech still ready, I didn't know. All right, I just don't want,
Rich, one question, any students, were you planning on inviting any students to the
we hadn't
groundbreaking?
discussed that, that didn't come up in our discussion at all.
I thought that they were gonna do something at Norton. Maybe
Well, I had
they-
actually said something about having the kids come to watch, and Jeff initially said that wouldn't work, and then later in our conversation said something about the teachers may want to bring the kids, so I don't know what their plan is.
Okay, well, typically we bring these out for the kids, so they have
But I
something,
mean, if you're
something to
gonna
wear
have
when.
kids, there could be hundreds.
Yeah.
So, it would be fine with me if the principal wants to bring the kids out, but, I guess we'll
Weren't
run
there-
that by Jeff.
Weren't there a couple of students in the advisory groups? Or am I imagining?
Oh, yeah, the think tanks, there were,
Yeah.
yep, there was
Yeah.
a couple students and
Wonder,
parents.
wouldn't they be invited?
I can tell you that, so in my volunteer capacity, I am chair of a building committee for a smaller project. We, as part of our groundbreaking, the very first shovels that were put in the ground were the kids, as just a symbolic reminder of who we're doing all this for. And it was a pretty touching moment with the folks that were there. But
Actually sounds like a
That's
neat idea.
really nice.
I've also seen it done where it's like a reward or an incentive for, you know, a certain group of students if you can't bring everybody out, but there's a select few that, you know, earned that honor or something that they could be involved. I don't know how that would play out.
I like
It'd
student
be
council
easy to do it,
members.
Council,
it'd be easy to do it Norton, not so easy to do it to North End.
Yeah, there's no students there.
Yeah.
Maybe we get the turtles.
The Turtles. Okay, all right, let me run this stuff by Jeff Soul and we'll get back to you if there's no other input on it. Right. You should have received an invitation for the town council holiday. Like this, holiday reception on December 18th. I won't be here at that time, but what's that, Byron Rondo
Fancy.
from 4 to 7. They had something similar last year, I forget where it was last year.
2 years.
Was it Byron Rondo?
Last year. Yeah, it's a volunteer reception for
Yeah.
all of the folks.
So it's for
all the
anyone who has
commissions.
been in a volunteer capacity with the town over the year, and just pop in, some food available, some non-alcoholic drinks I think were free, and alcoholic drinks you paid for. So just want people to be aware, and I forwarded that out to everyone, so. Okay, that's my thing. Architects, update.
Okay, I think this is the lightest update that we've given so far. It's an indication of kind of where we are in the bid process. So we've obviously completed our pre-bid walkthroughs. There have been 2 addenda issued for each project.
You can keep that, Phil.
The first addendum for both North End and Norton were primarily focused on modifications that picked up O&G's constructability review comments that kind of closed the loop on those documents. The subsequent addenda and future addenda will be specific to RFIs received. And to that end, as of this morning, Laurel, I'm sure you got a number of additional RFIs today.
Yeah,
But
I
our,
didn't put them in the log yet.
yeah, but our RFI total as of this morning was 138 for the North End and 61 for Norton, which frankly I feel is a little bit light for.
Yeah, I'm really
for-
behind on Norton.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
it's double that right now.
Okay. Most of the questions will be duplicates between schools.
Is that an expected number?
Usually we see a lot more.
I've had over 200, so
Oh, okay.
even 138 is a little light.
Anything that came out of left field, or?
No.
is it- okay.
No.
Just clarifications?
Yep. So the team is prepared to attend the bid openings as well as, most importantly, scheduling the scope review sessions, which we already have calendar invitations for, anticipating the site concrete and steel subs. So we'll make sure that ourselves and our consultants are part of those meetings as well, so that when we collectively sit in front of you on the 19th, we can comfortably, all folks, Arcadis, O&G, and Tecton, can comfortably represent that these are the recommended subcontractors. Other than that, not much to report.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, we will move right on. Ryan, Phase 1 construction update, including equipment status.
Okay, so all work is complete, with the exception of the project sign at North End, which is going in next week. They put all the no trespassing signs on the fence today, and the contractor access signs on the fence at North, sorry, not Norton, at North. So those are all going in, and the project sign will go in at North next week. Norton, we finished up all of the culvert work and the underground conduit work that Eversource required prior to them moving their pole. I've been in contact with Mike Prentice from Eversource. He told me that he wanted to come out and review that installation prior to scheduling the pole. I offered to meet him, I asked to meet him, and he said he was not sure when he was gonna make it out. He was gonna try and make it out this week, but he didn't need me there, so he would just come by, review it, and then schedule it and be in touch once he's scheduled it. I have not heard from him. we'll follow up with him tomorrow to see if he made it out this week to look at that. That will have no impact on our ability to get started in January. Heaven forbid it wasn't to be moved prior to that, but it is something I am keeping.
We can get around the guy?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we got all the culvert pieces in, around the guy wire around there, so I think it's really more for the long-term usage of that. You need that guy wire moved. We're able to get in and out without that moved at this time. Equipment, so we are in the process. We have, all the submittals have been reviewed. Several were approved or approved as noted, and those have been released. I am waiting for an update from Square D on production timing and procurement delivery of those approved submittals. The remaining submittals will revise and resubmit. Those have been sent back to Square D. They are working on addressing all of the design team's comments or questions, and I do expect those back. They were trying to get them back to me this week. If not, I told them I definitely need them by first thing next week before we go on the Thanksgiving holiday, because I want to get them in, and then we can get those reviewed and turned around in the first week of December and release that equipment. The longest lead item that we have, obviously, is the panel board switchboards. Rich did bring up your concern that you brought to him about, are we delaying being able to release those by not having the numbers for the bulletin surge protection on those. So those are one of the submittals that came back, revised and resubmitted, and are being addressed. So the short answer is no, we are not delaying releasing those. And in addition, even if we didn't have approval on the surge protection when we released those panel board switchboards to Square D to put in their production line, they don't start building those right away. They select a production slot for us. That production slot could be April, March, May, we don't know. They get it in and then they start building once it goes into their production slot. So we still have plenty of time to get the the surge protectors into those panel boards. Even if we release those panel boards to get them in a production slot, we can always get that surge protection added in after we release those to go into a production line. So we still have time on that. I did ask Marico to follow up. He's the owner of AR Electric, with Square D to get that pricing back to us. Unfortunately, Square D is slow rolling it right now. They have not gotten that pricing over to us. They're still working on that, so I don't have that to present to you tonight. As soon as I do get that, I will share that with Rich, and then he can share it with yourself and the subgroup committee, so we can look at that. I think as long as we can get those approved on the December 19th meeting, I don't see any issue with getting those into the panel boards, and they will not delay our receipt of the panel boards.
Are those panel boards going to be here on site in time?
Yes.
I mean, that's my concern. It's
Yep.
been a long time, and
Yep.
getting this stuff put together.
And that is the purpose of going with an enabling package with those submittals of this nature. Generally, the electrical submittals tend to take longer for review. There's a lot of detail in them. Oftentimes, the design team picks up on items that need to be revised or resubmitted. A lot of the comments that came back are related to updates to the phase 2 drawings that now need to be taken into account based off of what we didn't know when we were doing the phase 1 enabling package. The key to this is that we started early so that we could get them in. We knew it was going to take months to get these submittals approved and released. Had we started in, say, January or even early February, now you're talking about not releasing them until maybe March or April, and then you go out a year from there. Now we're receiving them in April instead of where we're going to receive them in November or December, for the project. So that is the purpose of the enabling package early on, is to get us ahead of the game, which we still are. So like I said, looking at the schedule, talking with our superintendents, as long as, we have all of that in line and we get them into next year, beginning of 2026, there's plenty of time to have those in and finalize all the electrical. We'll be working our way through the building, so we need the panel boards to energize and obviously to run the building, but we won't be running the building at that point yet. We will not be fully ready to have those started up in December, January of next year. So we are still in plenty of time.
One other quick question. Richard said to me that last meeting we had talked about doing some additional work on the culvert, and then Rich said that it was discussed and they chose not to. Can you address that?
So we did get some pricing to waterproof and do the binder course in phase one here before the plants closed in early December. That pricing came in just shy of $39,000, would have exceeded the remaining balance we had in this CM contingency by about $500, so that we would have had to go, the committee would have had to approve an additional $500 out of your funding. In discussion with Mark, in talking with our superintendents, we currently have a processed material cover on those, the culvert. The concern is not the culvert itself; it is the gaskets, the joint sealants that we have on there. In our review, what we've come up with to help us to address and protect those is to leave the process in place, not spend this $39,000. Update our logistics plan for the phase 2 site contractor that clearly states that they are now going to, on top of that process, as well as the entire Sharon Drive access road, let's call it, they're going to install a 1 1/4 inch gravel, 6 inch deep gravel bed across that entire area. That gravel will not wash away, that gravel will not rut up like a processed would, so this is going to give a second layer of protection, and we are going to encourage the site contractor to waterproof and pave that as soon as they are able to. We are telling them ahead of time, you should carry a second mobilization for paving so that you can plan on bringing it out there. It's going to cost money. It probably won't cost the $40,000 that Richards is looking at, because it's a whole complete mobilization for them. Obviously they have to bring in a special, obviously they bring in all the paving equipment and whatnot. If we time that, doing that culvert paving, properly, we'll be able to piggyback that with other paving, so it'll kind of combine the costs and reduce the overall cost, the unit cost, let's call it. So we are not recommending doing this early work, or doing this work early, because we think it's just it's not your most economical use of that money.
But we're comfortable that it will not have any detrimental effect to the culvert.
Correct. And I've reached out to Richards and asked them to confirm that there is no impact to the warranty, and they confirmed it verbally. I've asked them to put something in writing to me stating that there is no impact to the warranty on that, and they have assured me there isn't, but I've asked them to put it in writing as well. So.
Okay.
I have one question for you. In my experience, it's just a little different. That's why I'm asking. But you had mentioned that once it goes into production with the gear and the panel boards, that if we have to change this or that, or add the surge protection once it's gone into production, not a big deal because we have time and all that. Has that? I know that sounds like a normal thing, and for a lot of equipment it is. Has anybody actually confirmed that and given you an actual confirmation with Square D? Because I was told to change it on one circuit breaker, I go to the back of the line.
Yeah. Once it's into production, right? Once you're into production, they are planning it basically. They are with the understanding, they are pricing it up. They understand that this is a likely add to this. And again, we haven't released this for production yet. So again, by the time we get the resubmittals in, the design team reviews them, that'll be early December. We get the approval, we're only talking about a week here, difference in between when we'll likely release those and when we'll get approval. So say we release them the week prior to the 19th and then approve them on the 19th, you're only talking about a week. And Square D has told Americo, or told A&R or AR Electric that won't be an issue, that they will be able to get those in. So I will confirm that and firm that up. It's a good question, and I will follow up on that with them.
Like I said, I had an issue where she was changing a breaker.
Yep.
Back of the line. And it was more beneficial to pay the $20,000 for a replacement breaker after we got the gear than to go back of the line and lose however many months. So.
Okay. As soon as we get that pricing in, I will share that with Rich and the committee, and obviously we can be well prepared for the December 19th. I will also follow up with AR, and if there, as you were stating, if they come back and say that there's any sort of chance of that, I will let you know, and then we can take action based on that.
Okay. Phase 2 bid updates.
So this is just kind of a reiteration of what I passed out last time. It's a visual of where we're going.
Still just as long.
This time I didn't go upside. Now
You don't
gotta
want
flip it
to
this
go
way.
where we've been?
No. We're not doing that.
Thank you.
Alright, so you'll see that the start work on site is still at January 10th. And we'll come back to the GMP stuff, so let's just flip it over. And this is, again, this is no different than what I shared last time, except there might be another line or so. I think the two highlighted dates are the two bid openings. So for North End, Tuesday, we have bid opening, site concrete and steel. The rest of the bids are gonna open on the 3rd, and I've already informed all the bidders, we are not delaying it anymore. It's coming in on the 3rd. So those are our two bid openings. Then I have highlighted for North End, I have the two meetings where we need you guys to, the 19th, which is to approve the site concrete and steel, and then on the 16th, which is pretty much what we're working for. So we're looking for your meetings there to do the approvals. And then in between is when I'm doing all the scope reviews. So, the minute you do the approval of the North End site concrete and steel, I'll issue limited notice to proceed. That's the formal contractual start date. There's a letter. We issue that, that's their go. That tells them you're gonna be awarded, get going with your Sonetos, get going. And then in the meantime, I gotta write the contracts, and they've gotta get their bonds and insurance. All that's gonna be happening over the holiday time frame, the contracts and getting bonds and insurance. So that is what will be the precipitous to us starting work on site. Once we're through the site concrete and steel for North End, I'm actually spending the entire week from the 4th to the 13th. I say scope all major trade contractors. To me, those are all the big contractors. So it's site concrete and steel, obviously, but it's also masonry, millwork, roofing, the windows, drywall, food service equipment, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. And the reason why I want to get these guys done is I want people to have some sort of a level before the Norton bids come in, who might have a shot at North End. It kind of gives the bidders a chance to adjust. If somebody looks like they think they're going to get North End and they really want Norton too, they can lower their
Give us a
number
deal.
on Norton. And also if somebody missed out on North End and they really want a job, they can also sharpen their pencil for Norton. So I see Norton as being the beneficiary of going second, and taking advantage of who is or has not, looks like they're gonna be awarded North End. Then, in January, basically the rest of January, once I'm done with the site concrete and steel, for North End, we're just gonna scope through the rest of the trade contractors. After that, we start doing our GMP and all that, and that's back on the first page, but let's stay on the same side for now. In the meantime, while all this is going on, all this scoping and everything, we're still bidding Norton. Norton is still out for bid. It's the same approach, though. The two yellow highlighted are the dates. Same thing, we're gonna bring in the site concrete and steel early. 2 days later, we'll be bringing in Norton, the 18th, which is just before the 19th. And that was the whole idea, is when we come to you on the 19th, you'll have the whole picture of both schools with where they are. Same dates as for North End for approvals. Now here, I'm dead against the holidays, right? So we're gonna scramble to get site concrete and steel scope, but then that's it on Norton. Everything is gonna hold off for scoping until after the holidays. So that's why I gave myself longer to get through the scoping of Norton. Now we may be able to do two, if it happens to be the same contractors, we'll play that out. But the whole point is get the site concrete and steel going so that we're spending the two holiday weeks just getting the mobilization done and then finishing up the scoping on Norton afterwards. And that's why, flipping over on the other side, that's why the GMPs are kind of staggered, because as soon as I'm done scoping everybody, which is the end of January, then I can start to just put the final touches on the GMP. Prepare that, so we'll prepare North End first, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a lag. I don't know if they're gonna come together or not. They might. I might be able to rush Norton in. I don't know. But for right now, I'm still showing them staggered. We'll bring them to you. I'm giving you basically 3 weeks or so to go through the review and approval process. So we present the GMP. I don't know how much you're gonna look at it or how many questions you're gonna have, but we basically allowed a 3-week process. And then behind that will be Norton. So until we get closer to January, I'll know more about that, but that's kind of the process.
Ambitious.
Well, so the 16th is the 16th of January, these are the critical contractors, these are the ones that affect the schedule. So these are still those main contractors that we're looking for, maybe not roofing, but.
16th of January.
16th of January, so it's gonna be a big push to, it's a big chunk of the contract, and their GMP isn't done yet. The only ones that are left really are gonna be flooring, roofing, thinking about anybody that's not.
Finishes, painting, things of
Yeah,
that.
and those are, the value of that is very small compared, so we'll be looking for you to approve about 2/3 of the GMP value without having a formal, but this is just buttoning it up. It's, you'll have the big financial picture, you just won't have all the legalese, the wording,
Okay.
okay? So that's just a reiteration of where we're headed.
Questions or comments? No? All right. Information brochures. Did you pass those out to everyone?
I did. So this is a, what we would call a draft, a mock-up of typically what we would do as a good neighbor handout. Something along these lines. This provides the project manager and superintendent for each separate project, depending on the project, as well as Arcadis' on-site manager, representative. It gives just kind of a brief discussion or a brief update of the activities that are going to be beginning in January and commencing through July. We're looking at, again, site work, geothermal wells, getting our concrete footings and foundations in, getting our steel erected, and then starting our building envelope right towards the end of the spring, early summer, to get this building enclosed so that we can get inside and really hammer out, getting the roof on over the summer. Those are things that will take place after the start of July and moving into the building for all of our interior work. Obviously, we took the renderings that came from Tecton and used those as our picture. The idea would be, prior to Christmas, or maybe just after the New Year, depending. We would go out with these, and they would be given to every single neighbor adjacent to the project. So the entirety of Sharon Drive. We could even go down the two side streets that lead to Sharon Drive, so that we can cover
traffic along those other roads.
So
That
anywhere
whole
they're
circle
going.
around.
Yeah, and then for the Jarvis and Marion, we would go the entire adjacent properties there. Additionally, I would follow Marion. If you're coming up Jarvis, take a left, go down there. There's not a ton of houses, but we'll share some down there. And then the other direction of Marion towards the farm, and then the Jarvis opposite direction, maybe to where the larger apartment complexes back, those estates, let's call
I'm
them.
not too concerned about the north end.
Right.
The northern end.
Yeah,
Is it
Norton's the
Courier?
bigger one.
What about
Courier
Courier
Woods?
Woods? Isn't that right there by?
Yeah, you definitely should do Courier Woods.
So, yeah, you got a lot of people in there.
Yep.
They're workers.
Yeah, one suggestion that was made by Rich when he reviewed this is to put a little bit more information about specifically that there's going to be some significant traffic on the Sharon Drive and surrounding roads. Obviously Jarvis and Marion, it's less of an impact. They're used to a lot of traffic over there, whereas Sharon Drive is truly a neighborhood, and they're not. I mean, I know that the day we had all the trucks coming in for the culvert, we did get a call to the police station on us, and they did stop by, did speak with the police officer. Everything was fine, and they did speak with, and just let them know there was a one-day activity, and that once construction starts, I assured him we will not be parking on Sharon Drive. It's just that during that phase one, during that time, we weren't able to park on site. Once we
But
get
you're gonna have
on,
materials coming in, and you're gonna have
Correct.
contractors all driving in that
Yep.
way.
Maybe on the Norton handout, on the back side of this, maybe we'll put a site logistics plan.
Yeah.
It'll show the traffic routing and the truck traffic route.
Definitely.
And just reference that maybe on the front sheet or something.
right.
And you didn't mention Dryden, but you'll cover Dryden too.
I don't know all the names of the, is that off of one of the roads off
So
of?
Dryden backs, some of the neighbors that back up to Norton currently, in fact, where a lot of the trees are gonna be cleared from the south side.
Okay.
Some of the neighbors there have reached out to me in the past, and so,
Yeah, I was thinking of every road basically from North Brooksville.
yeah, it forms basically a square around
Yeah.
the property.
Yeah, so all of those neighbors, anyone that's adjacent to the property,
Yeah, so
Norton's property.
Farmington, Sharon, Dryden, and then anyone on North Brooksville.
Yep. So our superintendents will go around, you know, who's responsible for this and deliver these to
We're gonna
everybody.
hand deliver them?
Typically, they put them in the mailboxes, but we can hand deliver them as well. You know,
Well, that's a huge job. I wasn't
Right.
anticipating that. I
no,
was just-
typically we put them in the mailboxes. You know, we don't want to bother people. You know, knock on their doors in the middle of the day. You know, a lot of people won't be home; they'll be working. So usually, typically putting them in the mailboxes is the best, or sticking them in their doors.
Do you
is the best
generally
way.
get any or many phone calls?
You get some. Yeah, you're going to have, especially from neighbors that back up straight up to the property. You know, we will have some, and that's what we want. We want them reaching out to us directly instead of bothering Sean or the police department or whatever. This way, that gives them the opportunity to call directly to our project manager that's on site. And then obviously, if it needs to run up the chain, it would come up the chain to me, and then if it needed to go even farther, we would get Mark involved. But we don't anticipate it needing to go anywhere past me or even getting to me. These guys, our managers know how to handle that, and
Yeah,
we will
well,
make
the
sure.
couple of concerns we've had so far, you've dealt with it well, so I think, you know a couple of the neighbors
I
to
do.
keep them in the know.
Is there more fencing and perimeter erosion controls planned to be installed at North End?
At North End,
Yes.
no more fencing. The fencing is complete at North End. The erosion controls as established right now, and I have to review the phase 2 erosion control plan. There's probably going to be some additional work that we do inside the property. Obviously, when we open up some areas, we gotta make sure that we, maintain those erosion plans,
I'm
but.
only asking because there might be a neighbor who's as much a jerk as me, and you got a bullet on here that says you're gonna be installing that, so maybe you wanna cross that out. Bullet number 2 for, says, install construction fencing and perimeter
Oh,
erosion
yeah.
controls.
Good catch.
Maybe you wanna pull that one out?
Yeah. I'll revise the language on that to the inspect and
There you go, yeah.
maintain.
Yeah. Are you still planning on moving some of the fencing where you come out of the driveway?
So just the gate. We looked at it with the scrim off, you have plenty of sight line. And what we're gonna do is, we're going to create basically a corral similar to the entrance to our site. Similar there, we'll back it up a full car length for the gate so that when you pull out, you don't have to pull into the road to then go back and close the
Yeah,
gate.
because when we had the pre-bid meeting, you had to kind of get out into the road.
Correct.
To see.
Yes.
Because it was blocked, so
Yeah.
that's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yep, so that's what we're gonna do. That's written into our site logistics plan, so that'll be included in the site contractor's bid to revise the gate at the house.
Okay.
Back it up a full car length so you can pull out, close the gate behind you, and then pull into the road from there. I think we actually did put in there about revising the fence as necessary. So our superintendent is very experienced. George Gibbons is one of the top superintendents in probably the state, I would say. And he's going to evaluate it a little bit more and then make the decision of exactly. We may angle that, if you're looking at the house, the right side section of fence, angle a section of that back just to give a little more sight line. I work out of that house 2 to 3 days a week right now. I use that as a place. And you do have, with the scrim off, you can see a good ways, but we want to make sure it's safe.
Just a quick question, I know it's a draft, but these are the correct representative names?
Yes.
Currently, if we ever get questions.
Yep. We reviewed those with both Arcadis and our team.
Great.
Anything else on that?
Ryan, thank you for keeping my name and number off of this.
same here.
Let me, I just sent a note to Laurel and Allison to get you the updated renderings.
Sure.
These are old ones.
Yeah.
So wanna make sure you have the updated ones.
Perfect, that's great. We'll take those and update this. This was more just to give it in front of
Yeah,
everybody and get the idea, and we can make revisions to it, so.
And Rich, you guys have one guy for both?
It's actually, because the way we price it, we're 2 days a week on Norton. And
What I remembered, I just want to verify.
Yeah, so he's gonna, we thought it would be beneficial to have the same person on both. That way he can, if there's something going on and he's over on Norton, he can go back north and vice versa.
So he'll go back and forth depending on
Yeah,
the need.
yeah,
And that is Zach.
that is accurate, yeah. And
Okay.
ONG and Tecton have worked with Zach in the past.
Rich, financial procedures, submitted invoices.
We have 6 invoices. ONG for the Phase 1 construction, Arcadis, and
We are
Sons
gonna
of
talk
Michigan.
about it, yeah. Okay, New Norton Elementary School, Construction Services, O&G Industries. $227,551.92. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved, second? Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Owner Representative Services, Arcadis, for Norton, $4,689.65. Do I have a motion? Chris, second?
Second.
Fred? Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Commissioning Services, Van Zelm Engineers, $937.50 for Norton Elementary. Do I have a motion, Chris? Second?
Second.
Second, Sean? Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Again, unanimous. New North End Elementary Construction Services, LNG, $114,373.37. Do I have a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
Greg? Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Owner's rep Arcadis for Norton, or for North End, $10,192.50. Do I have a motion? Sarah? Second?
Second.
Sean? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. And Van Zelm Engineers for North End, $1,340. Oh, I skipped our, no, that's it. Van Zelm Engineers, $1,340.64. Chris, second. You ready? Any discussion on this one?
Oh, yeah, yes, it did. For north, no.
Probably the same thing.
The
The Eagle Environmental is.
The reason why the,
part of theirs.
yeah, Eagle Environmental is part of ours, that's why it's higher than the north.
Oh, here's what,
So it's the last page, got it. Yep, I'm good. So second.
got it.
Yeah. All those in
Great.
favor?
I love it.
All right. It's unanimous. Very good.
Did you get Van Zelm?
Yeah.
Yep. That was
It's on the.
part of.
No, Van Zelm second.
Yeah.
part of the-
We did,
part of the Arcadis.
yes, we did Van Zelm second.
You know, I've asked them. They have no good reason why.
Alrighty. Change orders, action recommendation on change orders.
So as reported, there are no change orders to present tonight.
Chuck and I are doing a great job.
Keeping that dollars down. Keep up the good work.
Scared them right out of that paving on the culvert.
There you go.
They're gonna be
Chris is
shaking.
really proud of us.
Alright, owner's rep, budget.
So there is a separate handout for the budget, and we also have a summary of what we've allocated for owner's contingency too. So nothing new to report on the budget. Budget has stayed status quo. This past month, we haven't had any new encumbrances, just the bills. So as you can see at the bottom right-hand corner, we've expended about 4% on the North End project, and in red on the Norton, we've expended 3.4%. That's 3.4% that you've approved on your invoices towards the budget. What you don't see as a percentage is that on North End, you've actually encumbered 11% of your overall budget. That number is going to start to go up exponentially. Yeah. 11% on North End and 12% on Norton, only because it's got a smaller budget and about the same expenditures.
Okay. Any comments or questions on the budget? Alright. Open item log?
Okay, open item log. So, we closed the surge protection from the last meeting. That's now in bulletin, so it's being priced. And we will get that number hopefully for the next meeting or sooner, so we can present it. There are 2 items on the open item log. One is pending, and that was the builder's risk policy. Builder's risk policy, we needed to put together some applications for the broker. That information was sent to Vin. Vin has been busy with some other things, so he told me the last time I talked to him that this should happen pretty quickly once we get the information to the broker, so he's not overly concerned about the timing on this.
So we're past the deadline date on that.
Right. But that was also thinking that I think we set that deadline date when we thought we were going to be breaking ground in December, so.
Oh, we're breaking ground on the 16th.
Of December.
Yeah, right?
We are?
Well, fake
Well,
ground.
Fake groundbreaking, yeah. With shovels. If we want to do the whole project with shovels, we're okay.
It's gonna take us a while. Yeah.
And then the other open item is just the temporary lot, which,
Yeah, so can we talk about that one just for a little bit? I have an update on that, and I just want to also get some clarity. I'm getting some questions from the council. So in terms of an update, we have confirmation as of this week that the church is not interested in leasing the parking lot to the town. They're gonna, looks like they'll be proceeding with selling the property. And so I wanted to just take a minute to sort of make sure I understand, as I'm conveying to folks asking me, what the current plan is with the temporary parking lot. Some questions just about whether that's, I'm a little unclear as if it's in the budget, it's not in the budget, and sort of how we're handling that, so I can answer a few questions.
so when it was approved to go up to the state, we
Right.
did not include the $400,000. That was an alternate, right? Because
Right.
it kept the number in the budget, but it is being included as part of the bid documents.
All right, that's the
So you will have
clarity
a number.
Okay, and that's not a paved
Correct,
parking
that's
lot.
gravel. The 400,000 was for a paved lot, right? Because originally we talked about going up with a paved
Paved
lot,
like
but
an
then
asphalt paved parking lot?
asphalt, yeah, it's not
Okay.
asphalt, it's gonna be gravel, so whatever the cost is, it will be identified on the bids when they
Yep.
come in. And, there'll be a walkway to the sidewalk. It can hold 62 cars, so it's not, Vin was trying to get 75. It's
Right.
only gonna hold 62 cars. And we'll do some sort of a CM allowance in case site lighting is needed, like
Okay.
bring in maybe some temporary site light, so.
And then
we'll
accessibility,
just,
ADA accessibility or whatever is okay with the gravel lot and those sort of things?
Well, there's gonna be 88 parking. We're turning over the parent loop,
Right.
and that has 88 parking
Got
out
it.
front,
Okay.
so
that
for
should
the
cover
3
enough
months,
for the 3 months, okay.
they should be using that if they need it.
Okay.
Because I don't think the gravel's gonna cut it.
And we don't have an estimate of what the gravel lot would cost?
No, you're gonna
at this
have
point.
the
We'll
hard
know the
number
real number
when
in
the
a few
bids
weeks.
come in.
Okay.
But
And
you
it's
pretty
not
much
gonna
have
be
to
that
do the
much.
gravel lot anyway, because that's where
Yeah.
all the contractors are
Right.
gonna be parking.
It's just, yeah. So it's,
Got it.
I'm not expecting it to be a super duper huge number.
Okay, yeah, and I just wanted to relate, there was a lot of talk about,
The-
in
the
the perfect
bigger-
world, the town would be
yeah.
leasing, but because they don't wanna encumber the property
Yeah, but
as
the
they
thing is, the
sell it across the
62
street.
spaces is not enough. So
Correct.
there's still gonna have to be some sort of shuttle service or carpooling or something is gonna have to happen in addition to the temporary lot.
So it's possible that whoever buys the property, depending on timing and what their plans are for the property, might partner with the town on this or not. But the church is not willing to enter into anything that encumbers it at this point.
Okay.
Sean, do you need a number on that gravel lot? Is that something?
No, it's helpful to know it's not definitely 400,000 or paved, those are the
It
first
should be,
questions
right,
I
it should
had.
be less than, it
Yeah.
should be south of 400, but.
Okay.
Yeah,
If
I
you
think
do
there
need
was
a
a
number,
real
we can-
concern about putting $400,000,
100%, yeah,
only to
that's-
dig it up
yeah,
a few months
that's
later.
shared universally for sure.
Yeah.
Again, the perfect world across the street, we'd have a great either primary or backup plan, but it doesn't look like that's the case.
Yeah, so it's shifted, and I don't think it's gonna end up costing us much of anything, because we have to have
It'll be
it.
something because the site contractor's gonna have to come back the following spring to take it out.
Right.
As opposed to just being able to finish the job and be done, right?
Got it.
They'd be able to be done and be done. So it's gonna be the return cost, the digging it out, restoration, so there still will be a cost. it just shouldn't be anywhere near the.
Does it also delay installing the playgrounds? The play
No,
areas?
no, we're not gonna, originally I was trying to go there, but it never ended up being that way, so all the site improvements will be installed.
So the temporary parking lot is not where it was shown on that first.
It's just in the
It is
green.
where it's shown, but it's in the multipurpose field area.
Okay.
So the playscape is
The
actually just
playscapes will
north
all
of
be
it.
in, you might be short one multi-purpose field for the
Yeah.
3 months.
Oh, yeah, you
Yeah,
can
the-
short that
You
whole
have to
field.
short, yeah, this fits somewhere, okay.
The advantage of not using that as a temporary lot for the 2.5 months or 3 months is that you could theoretically establish all the plantings and the grass for the fall rather than the following spring.
Right.
Understood, okay, that
And
helps.
stay off it
answer
for the whole year.
Yep.
You know, rugby people are pretty tough. You just call it a rugby field, you don't have to dig it up.
They were practicing in a parking lot.
Play on the
last 2
stones.
years ago. It's true, they were practicing in the pavement. Thank you, I appreciate it, thanks for that.
All right. Rich?
One last item, and it is a contract amendment to British Stig Associates contracts for Norton and North End. And this is for review of the shop drawings for the sprinkler system. So once we have a sprinkler contractor on board, normally they would submit the shop drawings to the fire marshal's office, and the fire marshal would do their own calculations, and then they would sign off on the system. Generally, the fire marshal would do this kind of thing, but the fire marshal has basically said that he doesn't have the time or the capacity to do it, and he had asked if, we could get a contractor to do that. Now, my understanding too is that there are other projects in town that are private that they've pushed that responsibility onto the developer. The developer has hired their own consultants to do that work. So in essence, this is what we're doing. We do have money in the budgets to capture these costs. It's $4,500 per project. And if you go back to the budget page, you can see that we have a whole section for state and town permitting fees. So there's money allocated for this, and if the town didn't waive the permits, then they'd probably have the funds to be able to do this themselves.
Yeah, so that was the point I was just gonna make, is that yes, sometimes either the private developers themselves are paying for these fees, third party, or because they're paying substantial permitting fees, there's those dollars to help the town justify charging those. So in this case, we have no budget for this, and because we waive the fees, we also have no revenue for this. So I know it's a relatively small amount, but certainly I think, it's work well needed and above and beyond the capacity of the fire marshal to do, so.
Right.
We appreciate that.
It is non-reimbursable, but that's already calculated into the whole budget anyway.
Building permit.
But we're not paying, you're saying we're not paying a permitting fee?
Fees have been waived, right?
That's correct.
I would think that would exceed.
It would be a lot more than that.
So-
Oh, yeah, it's the hundreds of
Hundreds of
thousands.
thousands of dollars. And we have a budget for, as you see, both other town costs, but also state permit fees, which we have 67,000 in one project and 28,000 in the other project. So we're under budget arguably.
In that case, it seems like a no-brainer.
This seems very, very reasonable.
Yes.
It's a lot of doorknobs.
In awnings,
But it
but
could
not
have been more.
places.
But you may end up with more.
Yeah, it's over the holidays, right?
Is there state permit fees that we have to pay? Like,
Yeah.
why do we have
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you also paid a Chesapeake, they charged for, it's a very small one, we had it one last meeting, right? That was, I think, in that same category.
Yeah, I think we submitted as reimbursable, just because there was a application fee
Okay,
for
yeah.
their review.
So is the number that's in the budget like what we're expecting for the state fees, or is this what we were expecting for the town fees too before they waived them?
It's more, it's more of that, the latter.
The state fees are gonna be part of the GMP, correct?
Well,
Yeah.
you've got on your side though.
Yes,
Why
and then
would-
we would cover, if you cover it on the soft side, you leave it
Why,
there.
yeah, why would, you guys could just cut a check, right?
Well, it's, the town would cut the check, but
Yeah, whatever.
we'll figure it out.
It goes to the town and then.
Yeah.
I think Chuck's question was where those first placeholder budget numbers came.
More or less, like, what's the 67,795 gonna go to? Is it just gonna be 9,500, or is it 9,500 plus there's some state fees for like 20, so it's only going down to like 30?
The state fee.
There are state fees.
It's 26 cents per thousand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, why do we carry a budget of $68,000 if the fees were gonna be waived, I guess? Are we
No,
gonna
the
pay for
state
that?
doesn't waive the fee.
I understand that, there's a budget item for 68,000 though. Are we gonna pay that, or is that like going away? I understand we have to
just an
pay state
estimate?
fees, like,
I think
does it
that-
include the town fees that are now waived?
This was a line item that I think was created when Colliers actually created this budget. We actually reviewed it and we made some modifications, but, you know, I think that was the value that was carried in the original budget that was submitted to the state as part of the grant application.
So does that then drop down to say $10,000 and we have another 50,000 that goes into contingency? So are
If
we
it-
gonna reconcile what
if it
the
doesn't
actual
get
permit dollars
Yeah,
are?
if it doesn't get spent, Chris, it would drop
That's what
down.
I'm getting at.
Yeah.
is-
I agree.
So you're saying it was like a couple $100,000 for the state, like we never had that in the budget, so to say that we didn't get charged for it, so it's still in the budget, it's not really, right?
Well, I think a couple of hundred was for the town permit fee, and that got waived. So, you know, we wouldn't have had enough to cover it if it was.
That's what I'm saying though, it wasn't in the budget, so we're not saving anything off of that, we're really saving off only having the state fee and having to pay this.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's $200,000 for other town costs, and that's kind of like a catch-all for any of
It's
the
not
town
earmarked
costs.
for anything, as far as I know, right?
Yeah. No,
It's actually
it's not.
400,000.
200 per project, that's correct, yeah. Right.
So the subs then in their bids, they're not gonna include permitting fees,
They
correct?
are for this, they have to carry the 26 cents per thousand, our mechanical guys, because they have to pull their own permits. We're not pulling the permits for them,
So the project didn't get it waived.
unless we tell them not to. I
The-
think, I told them right now.
There's they pull the state education fee permit,
Right.
basically,
When
not
the
the city
town-
permit, town permit.
Gets money for a building permit. A portion of that goes to the state. That is non-negotiable.
Right.
The town can waive their portion of the building permit. And that's what Cheshire did for the project. But the project still owes the state,
26 cents per thousand.
right? So what does that work out?
Well, you just did the math, so like
About
20 grand.
19,000
So
on
anything
north, a little bit less.
above 20,000,
So the trades will only be carrying that.
Only
Make
that
sure they're not
portion.
carrying the local as well.
Correct. They will not be carrying the local, we tell them that the town waives their fees.
Gotcha, okay. And then at
Well,
some
the
point, we'll
4,500 too.
reconcile what this
Right.
number is.
Yes, we will.
plus the 4,500,
19 and 4,500.
right?
Well, I would assume once all these bids start coming in, that there'd be a major reconciliation on these budget
There will be.
numbers
Yeah.
anyway. Some are gonna
Yeah.
come in higher, some are gonna come in lower, we have
Correct.
to make adjustments.
Yeah, but that's all on estimates and unknowns. The permitting fee sounds like it's mostly a known.
Well, on the actual cost of construction,
The town part isn't, right? So at least we know that there's some that was allocated that goes away. It hasn't been going away yet. It hasn't been zeroed out yet.
on the budget, no.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think Chuck and I are trying to say the same thing. So as long as there's a reconciliation on that, and yeah, obviously all the estimates here will turn into actuals.
Yeah, I mean, now we're getting into the meat of the project, right? And so we're going to be able to encumber the construction costs, and we're gonna see most of the permit costs, but we don't want to zero out a lot of that, because, I mean, we'll zero out a lot of that, but we're gonna keep some of it, because there's still gonna be some costs that we don't know about that's gonna happen in the future, that, you know, we can certainly take out of owner's contingency, but if we just leave it as a line item as town other costs, then, you know, it's available to, you know, to whatever incidentals there are.
We should do this as two separate motions, so that, even though it's not reimbursable, so it shows up in the minutes that
Right.
way. So we need a motion, and this is being carried under you?
No, it's actually, so Versteeg has their own contract, because
Okay.
we did go out to public, you know, public procurement with
No,
them.
all right.
So we're just gonna
So
add
there's
that
not-
to
So the
the,
4,500 is the number?
it's 4,500 per school,
Per school.
yes.
All right.
And there's a separate contract for both schools.
All right, so we need a motion for automatic fire sprinkler and fire alarm system, code compliance review to Verstick Associates for Norton Elementary for $4,500. Chris?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion, further discussion? All right, all those in favor? And unanimous. And Same motion, only this time for North End Elementary for $4,500. Chris again, Dennis, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Okay. I believe that's it. Anyone have anything else they wanted to review?
Not for long, but I mentioned that I had a meeting with CLA, the consultant for the IRA credits that we're pursuing. So the reason for the call yesterday was that he was looking for some more information. He wants to know the size of the mechanical units and, you know, how the geothermal ties into the hybrid system. So, you know, I put him in touch with Craig Raza, and hopefully the two of them can talk so he can get the right information. But it gave me an opportunity to ask him about what the status of the credits are and whether or not those credits are going to be there next year or the year after, because the credits aren't available until the system goes into service. So the mechanical system isn't going to go into service until 2026.
At what point do we actually put in an application to the feds to get approved?
So according to CLA, it's when the mechanical system goes into service. And I asked him if it can go in, if the application can go in sooner so that we get our place in line. And he said a lot of his other clients are considering doing that also based on, you know, the results of the election. So I said, well, if the other clients are doing it, then this client also wants to do it too because they don't want to miss their place in line. So he said that it's a whole automated system, right? You have to plug in the date that it's going to go into service, the date that, you know, construction is going to start. All those dates are in the future. So he said if the system will accept future dates, then you're all set. If it doesn't accept the future dates, then we have to wait until it goes into service.
Yeah, and we just don't know. I had sent him a note, just saying with the election, I knew that there was a lot of discussion about cutting back on aspects of the Inflation Reduction Act. You know, what the Republican Congress will decide to do there, I don't know. I just don't want to spend a lot of money, or actually it's town money. We don't want to spend money if it turns out that it's a dry well. But on the other hand, if we can get an application in and protect that, at one point he was talking up to $3 million.
Per project, yes. And he's hopefully optimistic, but because he said that he believes that while things like EV chargers and other things like that are in this bill probably are going to get cut, he believes that the geothermal is something that is something that, you know, a lot of people are embracing, and so therefore they think that that's going to be kept.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see.
We don't know.
We'll stay up to date as we can.
Right.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn? Chris? Second? Dennis? All those in favor? Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.